What's up, guys? I have to do a startup on this helicopter because it hasn't been started in a while, so I figured I'd just film it. And then I figured also we'd use the checklist. So I don't know how well this is gonna show up on screen, but maybe you can stop it and see it. If not, I'm gonna take some pictures maybe and then put it on as an overlay. But maybe not. If this is visible, I won't do that. Alright, so we're just going to go through it point by point. Engine pre-start check, performance limits, determine, so basically doesn't need to do that today. Weight and CG, don't need to do that today either. Seats and control pedals, adjust and secure. So this seat, there's a latch under here, or not a latch but a thing that you can lift, and then you can adjust the seat back and forward. And then the pedals, you can turn them around if you're very short-feeted, if you have short feet. But yeah, the pedals are in the correct position. And then seatbelt fasten. This is on. We'll do it properly. With the belt buckle, like about the belt buckle is right under this thing. That's what I always, or people taught me how to do it. This shouldn't be like up here. Rotor brake released fully forward. So this is the rotor brake, full forward. So that means it's off. Fuel shut off lever forward. Plastic guard on. Guard condition. This thing is just designed so that if you pull it, it's just going to break off here. So this doesn't have a lock like this one that you need to unlock before you pull it. This just pulls back and you shut the fuel off to the engine. Twist grip, idle position. You got two positions. You have idle and flight. Make sure it's in the idle position. It's no big deal if you leave it in flight. The thing is, it's just not going to stabilize at 67. As soon as it hits 67, it's just going to keep going all the way up to flight idle. I have done it before. Not on purpose, but you know, sometimes you forget. Twist grip idle position check. Hydraulic cutoff switch is on, so the hydraulic cutoff is on. That means it should be up. This is the off position, so up. Engine starting selector off, so off. Even though, yeah, so if you leave that to on and you put on the battery, it's not going to start the engine automatically. Even though that's the case, I always check that this is off before checking the fuel level. Like something you need the battery to check the last flight or something. Always check that the engine start switch is off before switching on the fuel. Before switching on the battery. So engine starting selector is off. Battery on. So on switch, you pull out, flip it up.
That's all. Bristol 217. Bristol 210, line up on 290. Landing up 29, Bristol 210.
So some radio chatter there, and now you should be on the headset audio. Instrument lighting system, off day, night as required. This is up here. Off day and night. So off, I can't know if you see that, but I don't know what the difference is actually. But day and night is pretty visible. And yeah, I don't know how well that's going to show up, but night is a lot weaker. The day is pretty good for now. So usually we fly in day, and then in the autumn and in the spring, when you fly early days, or like you fly until the sun goes down and right before the sun comes up, it's very good to have it in night mode. COM 1, this is COM 1, the radio, GPS, so that's on. Electric mirror. Inst light. If there is an inst light. No, there's no light for that. Anyways, let's move on. Electric mirror set to avoid dazzling at night. So that's this mirror here. And I don't know if you can see that in the mirror, but if you turn on the landing light, you can't get blinded by that light if it's dark out. So you want to adjust the mirror so that it's out of sight. So now I can't see the landing light. So if I turn it on here, it doesn't blind me. But now let's just leave it up here. Set to avoid dazzling. Warning light test, perform. So warning light test is this button here, and check torque indicates 100% for 2 seconds, then back to 0. So warning lights, all lights are on, both screens are on, and this light as well. This is for the landing light. Torque goes up to 100, 2 seconds, and then back to 0. Fire test, perform, and then you should have the engine fire light up here. Accu test, on for 2 seconds. This is to depressurize the load compensator and or the yaw compensator, so that you can get the pedals all the way neutral. Heslo operation, see the Heslo checklist. I'm not going to do that now because we don't have the line hooked up and everything, but basically you press the sling on, you check that the weight comes on or the load indicator comes on, and then you would check the bow or the release and the belly release, and then the low release. Caution warning panel lights. Caution warning panel lights check. With battery power, you should have fuel pressure, generator, pitot, and horn for the ambers, and then engine pressure, main gearbox pressure, hydraulics, and twist grip for the reds. And then if you have external power, you're also going to get the top left one, which is that one here, battery. Then we go into the VMD. This is the VMD. Vehicle engine multifunction display. I'm not completely sure, but basically you have your engine gauges. Check that the 3 data page, no message. This is the 3 data page. The 3 datas are the torque, N1, and TOT. When you fly, as you see afterwards, when we start up, it's going to be it's going to revert or go over to the FLI, which is the first limitation indicator, which is a combination of these 3 instruments. Vehicle page, no message. Battery volts above 22 volts, and then the bleed valve up here should be open. That's the bleed valve on the engine. So if it's closed, yeah, we're not going to that now. Control pedals, free travel, then left pedal 2 centimeters forwards. So they have free travel. They're really hard on ground if you don't have hydraulics on. So they move, really stiffly. Basically, just feel that you can move them. And then cyclic center, you adjust the friction. Usually, just leave the friction on until you have it up on idle. Collective, lock, and friction adjusted. This has a friction here, and also it has a lock. So this thing pops off and pops on like this. So most important thing before you start, just check that this is on. heating, demisting, these two knobs here, they should be locked. These are also things that you shouldn't like squeeze them, like really use power, because when with thermal contraction, if it's cold and stuff, it's going to be really hard to get them open again. So this should just be like turned until you feel resistance, and then that's closed. Alright, I'm going to call up ground. We're going to listen to the ATIS first, and then we are going to call up ground, and then ask for startup before we do the rest of this.
Wind 280 degrees 12 knots. Visibility 10 kilometers.
More.
Clouds broken 700 feet. Overcast 900 feet. Temperature 17. Dew point 16. UNH 9. Scattered 700 feet. Broken 1,200 feet. This is Solar Information. Victor. Time 1020. Expect ILS.
Obviously, now that we're not going out flying, we don't need the weather per se, but during these corona times, sometimes the ground is closed and you go directly to tower if they're low on manpower. But today I didn't hear anything about that, so we're gonna
350. Transition level 8.
Yeah, no remarks on the ATIS that I could hear. So we're gonna go directly to ground and ask for a startup for a ground run. Solar ground, Heli Falcon 3-4, good afternoon. Should I have listened a little bit longer on that ATIS? Probably. Let's call tower and see what they say. Solar Tower, Heli Falcon 3-4, good afternoon.
Heli Falcon 3-4, good afternoon.
Heli Falcon 3-4, parked apron 7, requesting a startup for a short ground run here at apron 7, helipad.
Heli Falcon 3-4, startup for EQNH 999.
Start approved, 999, Heli Falcon 3-4. So startup approved. Now we're going to go before starting the engine. So this is all engine pre-start, and now we're going over to the actual engine start.
Another station calling again.
Kilo established on RP36.
Kilo 6 kilo, good afternoon. Wind 280 degrees, 13
I'll just double check. Yep, should be good. So, caution warning panel, check that the governor light is out. That the governor light is out. It is not on, as you can see, it's here in the middle, almost. Fuel pump on. Doesn't say 30 seconds here, but I believe in the flight manual it does say 30 seconds. So we're just going to do 30 seconds. Anti-collision light is on. This is this one. This is just basically just always kept on, because if you're fueling or anything, it's just nice to have it on so that you can see that you have the battery on, so that if you get a phone call or you do something else, it's a big flashing indicator that you left the battery on. Cyclic controls, hand on. Okay. Engine starting selector on position. We're going to do that in a bit, but we're going to check engine parameters. N1 increase. And then rotor turns at N1 below or at 25%. So the rotors should be turning before this hits 25%. Engine oil pressure increase. when N1 is above or equal to 67, you check that the generator light is on. It should stay on until you flip the switch here. And then your engine pressure, main gearbox pressure, and hydraulic lights should all go out. The twist grip will stay on until you flip it on. Or until you switch it to flight mode, I should say, be more specific. Yep, then you go to yeah, that's what I said, right? What I meant was like you flip it on, and then the light goes out, and then all these lights go out. Pitot on, you click this here, and this one goes out. We're not going to do it yet. And then fuel pump off after 67. So I think that's pretty straightforward. All of this is just going to be automatic. We just have to monitor everything that happens though. So switch on. See N1 starts turning right away. TOT. Blades are turning 15%, so that's below 25%. Oil pressure is increasing. Temperature is going to increase. The U-bus is going to come back up to between 26 and 29 volts. And then when we flip on the generator, this is going to go get a red underline, meaning it's over limit, but that's normal when we normal during startup. So my hands is on. The engine started until we have achieved 67 or above. So we have now at ground idle. I was not hands on, but yeah. So this little thing goes on, switch. It's a little bit shaky. So now we go generator on, generator light on, off, Pitot on, light goes out, and then we check engine pressure, main gearbox pressure, and hydraulic pressure goes out. So all that's good. And then we go, oh sorry, Pitot, I did that wrong. I did that in the wrong order. Then fuel pump off. And then we check that we have Pitot and fuel pressure lights out. Engine starting selector guard is set. That you do that right away. And then, oh, shoot, it's parked in a crosswind. But yeah. Avionics on. This button here. Now, in different helicopters, it's going to do a few different things. With this, it's going to turn on the screens and the standby artificial horizon. The main artificial horizon is on here now. In that helicopter, I believe it's only the analog screen. So you have this one, the main attitude indicator, and then the directional gyro, and all the gyroscopic things. They all run on that one, or on this avionics button. Then, if you've seen my videos before, you can see that I always go here and twist this outer knob until it says inhibit. And that's just because when you fly so low to terrain all the time, you'll get that warning, terrain, it's super annoying. So inhibit just silences that voice. Avionics on, all necessary systems on. So normally that's everything we have is on now. The flag is out so we can gauge this. The sling would be additional system that you have to put on when you're slinging, and then you have, if you're using a third radio, because you have one radio, two radios, and radio number 3. So I think that's all the extra equipment we have. And then EPU is not used, so we're gonna this what do you call it? disregard. I'm going to disregard that point. Caution warning panel, check. Generator and battery lights are out. Run-up check, and then we go for the next part, which is run-up check with hydraulics. If not locked, the collective will move up when the accumulators are depleted or when the hydraulic cut-off switch or the collective grip is set to off. This is really, really important. It's about probably the most important thing on the startup, that you have to have the lock on here. Accumulator check. So we're going to check the accumulators, the emergency system if our hydraulic system fails. The collective check correctly locked, and then AccuTest on, so this button here. Always hands on when you're testing hydraulics. And then caution warning panel, check the hydraulics, light is on. Collective and cyclic. I should have had hands on here as well, but I double checked that this was on, so I am forgive myself. Collective cyclic, hands on. Move the cyclic 2 or 3 times on each axis, plus minus 10% of total travel. And check for accumulator hydraulic assistance on pitch and roll. No control overhead. So basically that means I should feel no forces moving back and forward on this cyclic here. So moving back and forward, I feel nothing. About 10% of total range. It should be about this much output, or output this much range. If you keep going, if you just keep going, you're going to drain the accumulators. Let's just do that so you can see. I'm going to do it the same speed here, and then there. Now the sideways. The sideways is really tough, but forward and back is here comes the forward and back as well. Well, actually only forward. I can still move it back without pressure. And that's a main or a big part of why, if you have hydraulic failures, the accumulators are used to only set the hydraulic safety or hydraulic failure safety speed at about 40 to 60 knots, and then you go full cutoff, so that you have no frictions in any directions, or not frictions, but no control forces assistance basically in any direction. Because if you have to be really tough going forward or back or side to side, and then suddenly you want to go forward and you have hydraulic assistance, you're just going to push it really hard, really quickly, and it's going to be a bad day. All right. So AccuTest light went out. I did not even check that. But basically, you do like this and press it again. Hydraulic light should go out pretty quickly. And then hydraulic cutoff test. Now we're gonna do the cutoff, so we're not gonna go by the accumulators, it's just gonna go straight to full cutoff. And you're gonna get the hydraulic light again, but you're also gonna feel control loads on the pedals, as you do with this one. But the cyclic is going to come immediately, and then the collective is going to try to jump up a little bit, but it's going to be held in place by this lock. So we go cut off. There you can see the, ooh, it's actually way nicer. Way less vibrations. So yeah, now it's hard in all directions straight away. And when you flick this up again, turn it on, we're going to wait for 3 to 4 seconds, and then the light should go out. And that is because you want to refill, it's going to refill all the accumulators. If it goes faster, that might mean that you're filling the accumulators up too fast. And actually, do you fill it up or do you just bypass? I gotta read up on that shit. But When you switch this back on, this should go out in about 3 to 4 seconds. And if it's faster, you should call maintenance basically. So now we have done check that the loads are filled immediately and that the cyclic can be moved in pitch and roll with normal feedback loads. We are now moving on to hydraulic cutoff switch on. We check the caution warning panel that the hydraulic light goes out after 3 to 4 seconds. So on, and we count 2, 3, 4. So pretty good. It says maintenance action must be performed prior to flight if the time is reduced to 1 second or greater than 4 seconds. So at least one of the accumulators is faulty if that happens. Now we're going on to, basically we've done everything. Now we're just gonna move on to get ready to fly. And we're gonna do one test of the horn in regards to low RPM, so the low RPM horn, in other words, at the run-up. So we're going to move the twist grip to flight position, and when NR is above 340%, we're going to switch on the horn, and then the light, or rather the horn, should go out when the rotor RPM is above 360. Then this should be in the green. The rotor RPM should be in the green. That's what check-in lower normal operating range. It's going to be about 389. Then we do a fire test. Then we do a parameter check, which is basically checking that everything is in the green and normal limits, and that we don't have any warning lights or weird indications. So we're going to switch this into flight. RPM start building. 340. So the light comes on at about 340, or not about, it comes on at 340 and then goes out at 360. And we are now checking that it's in lower range here of the green arc. I know that it's sometimes hard to see on camera, but that's what it is here. And then we're not going to do before takeoff checks. All the doors are closed, obviously. Landing light as required, temperature, normal range, blah blah blah. But we're going to do the engine shut down procedure. So cyclic center, collective grip is locked, and then twist grip down to idle position. Now you're going to have the horn, so we switch off the horn. Engine oil cooling, now we're just going to wait for 30 seconds before we shut the engine off, just to allow the engine oil to cool and stuff. And while we do that, we can shut off unnecessary equipment. And so that would be the pitot, the horn, pitot and the horn, and then avionics. It would also be the sling. It would be the landing light. And then after 30 seconds, which is about now, we shut the engine off, and then after the engine is shut off, we can do the generator off. And all the lights should come back to normal. So there should be 4 yellows and 4 or ambers, and then 4 reds. So engine comes off. Generator comes on immediately. So turn that off. Engine pressure comes on. You see here it's in the red. So that means it's on. Fuel pressure. That was just a test. So at NR less than 170 for high wind conditions, or NR for 140 for normal conditions is the application of this one, the rotor brake. I thought it was 170 for emergencies, not high wind. That might be wrong. I might be misremembering that. But anyways, we're above, we're actually below 70 now, which is the time when the flight report comes up. Then we need to write these numbers down and then write the time of where we took off and where we landed. So we can do that, apply the brake. And then when you ease the brake off, you should do it smoothly so the rotor doesn't come to a screeching halt. Just like that is a good stoppage. Now the pedals are going to go like that, with right pedal forward. Actually, just follow this list here. When rotor brake is stopped, anti-collision light off. We're not going to do that. Yaw out compensator check. Right pedal moves forward without pilot input, or can be moved with low force. So this is what happened without basically any input. So that's correct. Accutest, pedals can be recentered. So if you do this, yeah, so Accutest, and then the pedals can be recentered, and then off, and they stay this way. And then let's see here, on for 2 seconds, recentered, and then off before leaving the aircraft. Yeah, check the VMD, check there's no error messages. If you have over limits, this will come up here. Vehicle parameter out of range, sometimes that comes on, and I'm not completely sure what that is. But even if you fly completely fine, this can sometimes also come up. I think it's like a sensor failure or something. So here you have failure detected and over limit. If you have those, you have to advise technical staff. And yeah, pitot static ports, air intake and exhaust covers, blade stocks is required. So that's after we have exited the aircraft. But for now, it's just battery off, and we are done.